NBA preseason got underway last night with the Nets beating the Lakers. KD did not play. He was too busy celebrating his #1 ranking in our NBA Top 100. He was 7th last year, I'm told, but supplants LeBron James, who was #1 last season, heading into this season. LeBron is #2. Didn't fall far.
Ronnie.
Still ahead of Giannis, who is #3, Steph at 4, Luka at 5. The reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic, is at 6. So there's a couple of teams with multiple guys in the top 10. Lakers have LeBron and Anthony Davis. Nets have Kevin Durant and James Harden. The teens is where you'll find Zion Williamson. He's all the way up at #14, ahead of guys like Trae Young, Chris Paul, and Donovan Mitchell. Our Colin Ward-Henninger was one of 7 who voted on this list for CBS Sports, and you can find the entire list of the top 100 on CBSSports.com. But let's start at the very top, Colin. Easy to forget how many questions we had about Kevin Durant going into last season, right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I don't think any of us expected what we saw from Durant last season. I mean, not only did he look like he hadn't missed a beat, he actually looked better than he did in previous seasons. And I think that's an accumulation of all this knowledge, all that stint with Golden State, playing along those other superstars. I think that really helped him develop as a complete player. We already knew Durant was one of the best scorers in NBA history, but he's added so much to his game in terms of playmaking, in terms of defense, in terms of leadership, knowing when to pick his spots and really take over a game. And I think what cemented this #1 ranking for him was obviously those playoff series that we saw from him, particularly against the Bucks, putting up 49, 17, and 10, playing every minute, being within 2 inches of dethroning the eventual champs. I don't think anyone has any doubts that Kevin Durant is not only back, but better than ever, and I think he's really justified that #1 ranking.
He is #1. That means LeBron drops. LeBron was #1 going into last season, coming off that first championship with the Lakers, the first of which he hopes is more than one. I'm surprised, though, that he's still ahead of Giannis. Is he really still a top 2 player in the NBA, in your opinion?
I think he is. I had him #2. As great as Giannis was in the postseason, I just think you have to look at LeBron and say he is a more complete basketball player at this point in his career than Giannis, which is crazy to think considering he's going to turn 37 years old. Our top 2 guys, one's coming off an Achilles surgery and the other one's going to turn 37. It's pretty crazy with the state of talent in the NBA. But LeBron, he dropped because he had a not so great, or not LeBron-esque playoff series in the first round loss to the Suns. But he could easily be #1 at the end of this season if, as you said, the Lakers kind of return to prominence. He's still putting up 25, 8, and 8. He's shooting the 3 ball well. I don't think anyone is going to argue with you with LeBron at #2, even if Giannis is really nipping at his heels.
And Giannis is one of those foreigners who's won the MVP award recently. The last 3 MVP awards have gone to international players. 4 of them are in the top 10. What does that tell you about the state of the game right now?
Yeah, I think this is exactly what, former Commissioner David Stern envisioned when he wanted to grow the NBA game globally. I think they've done a tremendous job with that. And not only are we seeing kind of the European players in the vein of, Arvydas Sabonis back in the day and then Dirk Nowitzki, but we're starting to see players from different countries. I think, China is going to have a big influence in the NBA in coming years. India, these are areas where the game is really growing. And I think another area is Africa, where, we see Joel Embiid in the top 10. We see Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know he's from Greece, but he has African roots. With the Basketball Africa League, I really think we're going to start seeing a lot more talent coming from these non-European countries into the NBA. So while there are some great individual European and foreign talents at the top of this list, I don't think that is going to be something that goes away anytime soon.
Jokic and Giannis have already won MVP awards. Luka and Joel Embiid, 2 of the favorites going into this season as well. When you look at the list as a whole, from 1 to 100, who would you say is ranked a little bit too high?
Well, if I had to pick one guy who's ranked a little too high, I think it has to be Kyrie Irving. And, obviously he's got the off-court stuff, the vaccination status, the flat earth thing, all the distractions that he kind of creates. But really just on the basketball court, he's ranked ahead of Chris Paul. I don't know what NBA GM front office person would tell you that this upcoming season, they would rather have Kyrie Irving than Chris Paul leading their team in the playoffs. So, even guys like Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell that are below him, they've proven that they can be #1 guys on potentially championship contending teams. I think at this point in his career, we've pretty much established that as great as Kyrie Irving is, the most talented ball handler in the league, tremendous shot maker, he's probably not going to be that #1 guy. So Kyrie Irving was ranked a little bit too high for me. I had him a little bit lower on the list. I can see why, given his offensive talents, but I think the guys below him deserve to be ahead of him, at least in my opinion.
He's ranked 17th. He's too high, in your opinion. Who's too low?
Too low, I think it's Jamal Murray, and we had him at 37. I had him at 25. I think he might be getting penalized a little bit because of that ACL tear. We don't know if he's going to be coming back this season. But if you just look on that list, this is a guy who scored 50 points in a playoff game. He's averaged 30 points for a playoff series. I think we forget how great this guy is in a postseason setting. And then you look ahead of him on our list, you see guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and De'Aaron Fox, who are tremendous young players, but they haven't done it on the playoff stage the way that Murray has. So I was a little surprised to see my colleagues vote him lower than me, but I think once he gets back on the court and we start to see what he can do, he'll be much higher on the list entering next season.
And speaking of next season, who's a player on this list that you expect to see much, much higher when we revisit things and have a brand new list for you a year from now?
Chris, it's actually a guy who didn't even make the list. I had Darius Garland at number 92. I think he's a tremendous up-and-coming young player. I was very surprised to see him not on the list at all. The guy averaged 17 points, 6 assists, shot 40% from three, is really developing into a tremendous lead guard. NBA reporter, longtime NBA reporter Jackie McMullen asked Steph Curry which young players he's reached out to this offseason, and he named Darius Garland. He said he likes him a lot and that he thinks he's going to be a flat-out star. So I tend to agree with Steph Curry on basketball evaluation. So I think at this point next year, Colin Sexton, his teammate, was ranked number 76. I think Darius Garland is going to be a lot closer to Sexton and might even pass him entering next season.
All right, Colin had him 92nd, but not ranked in this one. We expect to see him there next year. Colin Ward-Henninger with us here, one of the 7 NBA experts who voted for our CBS Sports NBA Top 100, led by Kevin Durant from number 7 last season to number 1. His teammate, James Harden, number 7 going into this season. Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.